architecture. Smurf and SYN flood attacks. A Smurf attack sends a large amount of ICME echo traffic to a broadcast IP address with the smoothed source address of a victim. Each secondary victim's host on that IP network replies to the ICMP echo request with an echo reply, multiplying the traffic by the number of hosts responding. On a multi-axis broadcast network, hundreds of machines might reply to each packet. This creates a magnified DDoS attack of ping replies, flooding the primary victim. IRC servers are the primary victim of Smurf attacks on the internet. A SYN flood attack sends TCP connection requests faster than a machine can process them. The attacker creates a random source addresses for each packet and sets the SYN flag to request a new connection to the server from the smoothed IP address. The victim responds to the smoothed IP address and then waits for the TCP confirmation that never arrives. Consequently, the victim's connection table fills up waiting for replies. After the table is full, all new connections are ignored. Legitimate users are ignored as well and can't access the server. A sync flood attack can be detected through the use of the net state command. An example of the net state output from a system under a sync flood are shown below. Here are some of the methods used to prevent sync flood attacks. Sync cookies. Sync cookies ensure the server does not allocate system resources until a successful three-way handshake has been completed. RST cookies. Essentially, the server responds to the client sync frame with an incorrect sync act. The client should then generate an RST packet telling the server that something is wrong. At this point, the server knows the client is valid and will now accept incoming connections from the client normally. Microblocks. Microblocks prevent sync floods by allocating only a small space in memory for the connection record. In some cases, this memory allocation is as small as 16 bytes. Stack tweaking. This method involves changing the TCP/IP stack to prevent sync floods. Techniques of stack tweaking include selectively dropping incoming connections or reducing the timeout when the stack will free up the memory allocated for a connection. DOS/DDoS countermeasures. There are several ways to detect, halt, or prevent DOS attacks. The following are common security features. Network ingress filtering. All network access providers should implement network ingress filtering to stop any downstream networks from injecting packets with faked or smoothed addresses into the internet. Although this doesn't stop an attack from occurring, it does make it much easier to track down the source of the attack and terminate the attack quickly. Most IDS firewalls and routers provide network ingress filtering capabilities. Rate limiting network traffic. A number of routers on the market today have features that let you limit the amount of bandwidth some types of traffic can consume. This is sometimes referred to as a traffic shaping. Intrusion detection system. Use an intrusion detection system to detect attackers who are communicating with slave, master, or agent machines. Doing so lets you know whether a machine in your network is being used to launch a known attack, but probably won't detect new variation of these attacks or the tools that implement them. Most IDS vendors have signatures to detect Trino, TFN, or staged network traffic. Automated network tracing tools. Tracing streams of packets with smoothed addresses through the network is a time-consuming task that requires the cooperation of all network carrying the traffic, and that must be completed while the attack is in progress. Host auditing and network auditing tools. File scanning tools are available that attempt to detect the existence of known DDoS tool client and server binaries in a system. Network scanning tools attempt to detect the presence of DDoS agents running on host on your computer. Session hijacking. Session hijacking is when a hacker takes control of a user session after the user has successfully authenticated with a server. Session hijacking involves an attack identifying the current session IDs of a client/server communication and taking over the client session. Session hijacking is made possible by tools that perform sequence number prediction. The details of sequence number prediction will be discussed later in this lecture in the sequence prediction section. Spoofing attacks are different from hijacking attacks. In a spoofing attack, the hacker performs sniffing and listens to traffic as it's passed along the network from sender to receiver. The hacker then uses the information gathered to spoof or uses an addresses of a legitimate system. Hijacking involves actively taking another user offline to perform the attack. The attacker relies on the legitimate user to make a connection and authenticate. After that, the attacker takes over the session and the valid user session is disconnected. Session hijacking involves the following three steps to perpetuate an attack. Tracking the session. The hacker identifies an open session and predicts the sequence number of the next packet. Desynchronizing the connection. The hacker sends the valid user system a TCP reset or finish FIN packet to cause them to close their session. Injecting the attacker's packet. The hacker sends the server a TCP packet with the predetected sequence number and the server accepts it as the valid user's next packet. Hackers can use two types of session hijacking, active and passive. The primary difference between active and passive hijacking is the hacker's level of involvement in the session. In an active attack, an attacker finds an active session and takes over the session by using tools and predict the next sequence number used in the TCP session. In a passive attack, an attacker hijacks a session and then watches and records all the traffic that is being sent by the legitimate user. Passive session hijacking is really no more than sniffing. It gathers information such as passwords and then uses that information to authenticate as a separate session. This connection can be closed from either side due to a timeout or upon receipt of a package with the FIN or RST flag set. Upon receipt of a packet with the RST flag set, the receiving system closes the connection and many incoming packets for the session are discarded. If the FIN flag is set in a packet, the receiving system goes through the process of closing the connection and any packets received while closing the connection are still proceed. Sending a packet with the FIN or RST flag set is the most common method hijackers use to close the client session with the server and take over the session by acting as the client.